Okay, so this is Charlotte was writing about when she takes her girls out for potties, one on leash for reasons that, so they don't tear off after something. Oh, that's so smart of you. Because she's got squirrels and a creepy man at the fence. Oh yeah, yuck yuck. Anyhow, if I'm taking Bluebell out alone, it's on leash. I'm fenced in, so there's no leaving the yard or anything. But what I'm observing is when I take Bluebell out with no leash, just to pee, she goes into that low, slinky move with paw on high chase alert for what she can see. I have about 50 trees, so tons of squirrels. Anyhow, I know she's young and knows what go potty is, and she's kind of ignoring me, but not quite. At any moment, she's going to go bolt and can't really go anywhere, but it's unnerving because I'm worried. She's not focused on me, and even if she goes, I call her back. Any thoughts on this behavior and if I should do or not do anything when it's going on, while it's going on? I can always still take her out on the leash trying to get her to have her big girl panties on. Well, you got to take off the panties if you're going to go pee. Side note. Just kidding. Super important stuff there. So I think it's important that when we are with our dogs, that we are not always in training mode, that they are comfortable being dogs around us, and that when we engage, they engage, and but like I think a lot of this high arousal stuff that happens with dog training has come about as a result of all this dog training knowledge we've had access to, and clicker training and shaping and all that stuff, which creates a dog that's can almost become crazy with throwing behaviors and such. But our dogs can come to expect only one way of interacting with us, and that is this high energy interaction. So there's two things about this scenario that I would want my dog to go potty, sniff around, like just explore this environment. But I would have my dog on a long lead if I thought that my dog was going to practice crazy going after the squirrel behavior. And the reason I think I would want the long line on is I did something really stupid when I was living in Boulder because I was curious. And the two terriers, it was a squirrel up in this tree, and the squirrel was tormenting the dogs. But what I found interesting is I had these two trees, and so Jake was like, he had his front feet on the tree, and he's barking, looking at the squirrel, barking, 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 and Lil is like, sees a squirrel up there, and she starts checking out the other tree, and then she's starting to look different ways, like she might be able to get the squirrel in this obscure, like, highly, intelligent way. And so I run inside and I get a video camera and I videotape this whole thing thinking, wow, this is just fascinating. And Jake even starts leaving. And anyway, so within a couple days we're going for a walk and a squirrel runs across this road, and Jake lunged so quickly that he pulled the leash out of my hand and ran across the road, and it was a country road, and luckily nothing happened. But I struggled with my dogs whenever there was a squirrel around for, I think it was years. I think it was not just year. I think it was years as a result of me letting them act on that and just dig into their terrier nature. So, and I have another example of something similar, that until Dakota was about 3, we were able to go to the beach. He was playing with the ball. He was, sniffing around, going up and down the beach. No issues at all. And at one point we went to this beach in San Francisco, and he started, I couldn't tell if he was chasing or herding the little white wave part, that hits the shore. And so, I'm watching, I'm going, I'm not sure if this is good or bad. And I call him, and he came, and I went, yeah, that's okay. And let him do it again. I called him, and he came, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So then the next time I go to the same beach, I let him off again, and he starts doing this thing. And he's like, yeah, he's okay. And then all of a sudden, something clicked in. And he took off running down the beach, and I called him, and he completely ignored me. I was gone. He was like in the Upside Down, if you watched that TV series. He was gone. And of course, your heart sinks. And he was going towards a direction where there was no real risk, but he was going to hit this one area that dogs aren't supposed to be, and there were other dogs running around. He's completely ignoring everything. He was like zoned out. And I brought him, I think I started walking away from the beach with Lil, and eventually he did come. But I thought, okay, now I know the answer to that question. That was he herding? Was he thinking herding waves, or was he chasing waves instinctually? And it was B, chasing waves instinctually. So now I know I've got a problem. So I start, I keep him on leash around waves, and we play ball a certain distance, and it's all good, and I can take him off leash, and as long as he's engaged, he's good, he's paying attention to me. But then I decide, I really want him to go back to being off leash without the ball. I want him just to be on the beach like dogs enjoy the beach, like he used to. So I set up a meeting with a friend of mine with these two border collies that are just, really good role models. And he knows them, that's where I was camping when I was looking for a house. So we meet at the beach, and the waves are much higher than you typically find them. And so there's this loud crashing noise and tons of white. So, we are walking, and I've got the ball, and the other border collies are acting like border collies, and he's completely with me, relaxed, having fun, kind of working with them and coming back with the ball. And then all of a sudden, these two labs come racing into our group of border collies. And Dakota if a dog comes up to him and he has a ball, he's like, take the ball. He's not confrontational. Drops the ball. The lab runs off with it. And in that moment, I had a moment. If I would have known that this was a moment that I needed to act, I would have acted and I would have gotten him. But in that moment, he turned around and he noticed the waves, and he took off running down the beach. And this is a really long beach. And, I tried doing something I'd done before, which is like just, leave, because he doesn't want to get lost, doesn't want to be left behind. And that he never looked back, and he was getting like smaller and smaller. I mean, we were talking running full blown. So then my friend and I, we decided, no, we gotta go that way, and we were even trotting because there are some rip currents in real deep water around this bend, which was like, we're talking, I don't know, a quarter mile, but he was flying. So at some point, he does turn around, and I think he's probably exhausted, and then I do get him back and I put him in a leash. His brain was blown. He was out of his gourd. And so I leashed him up, and I took him for a walk away from the water, up and down this road, and I calmed him down, and I just thought, wow, this is a side of him I've never seen. And a lot of dogs can go there with agility. It doesn't last as long, but this is relevant to these dogs that get over-aroused and are no longer thinking. That it's not that they need more training, it's that they are completely elsewhere. So anyway, it turns out he wore down the pads, so dramatically. They ended up ripping a pad the next time I took him for a walk, blah, 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 he had a break. But the long story short, getting back to Charlotte and the squirrels, is your instincts are correct to keep your dog from practicing, what could potentially be craziness. I don't think there's any benefit. The dog is not trainable when they're in that state. And I've since taken Dakota to the beach, and I've kept him on a leash. And it's possible I can get to a point, perhaps. But now that he's done that once, I think there's a potential that could happen again, and that's not a risk I'd like to take just because it felt so unsafe. So, but back to, it is important, I think, to let our dogs be dogs and to let them make choices. So I would have her on a long line and just see, and as the world provides all these different variations of stuff, that see what she does when more and more things happen. And if she remains in her head on a long line, and you're not using the long line's there as just your backup, if you really do feel that she is thinking and staying connected regardless of the environment, what's happening, then you'll know that, yeah, it is safe to leave her off leash out there without her potentially, going way over threshold and practicing a mindset that is not conducive to anything, except for maybe survival mode if the squirrel had a machine gun and the dog needed to leave. I don't know. That's not such a crazy thought given the world, but hopefully they won't have machine guns because there's a lot of them. They seem kind of skittish, so I wouldn't want to see a squirrel with a machine gun. Let me just say that. So let me just hit on some of my notes. Let's see. So, Beth is saying, that's what Dipsy did today, but she ran into a fence and was trying to get through that. She slunk back to me after she realized it. Do you mean squirrel? That she went after a squirrel? Yeah, squirrels. Oof. I mean, they are great training opportunities, but it sure is hard to keep the dog in the working mindset around them. That they seem to they kind of act like the best squeaky toy ever in a weird way. The clickers, they click, click, click. They do all the stuff that dogs naturally respond to. So